Michelle. Welcome to my Southern home cooking. I hope you're doing good. I'm going to share something with you today. I work from home now and I'm by myself a lot. And during the day or during the evening, I have found a YouTube channel that keeps me interested and occupied, and now I feel like I've become a part of their family. They don't know me. They have thousands and thousands of followers, but I know them because seeing them reminds me of when I grew up. Go visit my granddaddy, him having cows, pigs, chickens, challenges, family life. And this is real life with them. Their family was struck by Hurricane Harvey and wiped out almost everything, especially for their son Lester. Lost everything, had to bury his belongings and everything, and lost all but 3 animals, I believe. And it's a miracle that they survived. How in the world? And a donkey, a goat, and then a pig survived with 6-7 foot of water. How in the world? But only God knows. But it has changed his life. It brought him the new love of his life, Jami. She's beautiful, smart, well-educated, and she's had her own challenges. But what they do, they share the rebuilding of their lives. And we've all had issues in the past that we've dealt with. But long story short, he talked his daddy into doing a video series. And I watched Paw Paw. And that struck a chord with me because I was granddaddy's granddaughter that loved to be there as much as anybody. And I wanted to be doing whatever he was doing when he was doing it. I sure can look at his little great-granddaughter riding with him sometimes in the side-by-side, the little mule thing. And I think, oh, I know I aggravated my granddaddy just as much, but he loved it, and Paw Paw loves it. So this is dedicated to the Morrow family, to Paw Paw and GiGi and their whole hee-haw gang, because they are incredible. I'm going to make his favorite dish, and I hope and pray the family can make it for him using my recipe. Here you go, Paw Paw and GiGi, because you can't have one without the other. God bless y'all, and I hope y'all enjoy my banana pudding. It's my recipe. Yes, indeed. Here we go. We're going to start from one side to the other. Of course, we have beautiful bananas, and they're just starting to get a little freckling of sweetness with the brown spots coming. Now, that's about the minimum that I want brown on it. The brown means they're full of sugar. So a few more brown spots would be great. But that I buy them a couple of days ahead of time and let them ripen. And here are the mini NILLA wafers. They're a little bit better for bite size. Here we have a stick of butter. We're going to use 3 teaspoons, which is a tablespoon of a really good vanilla. Now, I'm funny about that. Don't skimp on your vanilla. Get the best kind you can buy. And like I said, I found this at the fresh market, and it's just as good as that really expensive vanilla that I was buying. But it still ain't cheap. But anyway, we're going to make a homemade custard using 6 egg yolks. I separated them, and we're going to move this over to the side. These are the whites from those 6 eggs. We're going to make a homemade meringue on top. So let's put them over to the side. Okay. We're going to have 2 separate containers of milk. Okay. One is going to be a cup, and you can use whole milk. You can use half whole milk, half evaporated milk if you want it a little richer. I typically use whole milk. If I don't have quite enough whole milk, I'll throw in some evaporated milk in there too. But just don't use condensed milk. We're going to cook and make this, and we're not taking any shortcuts. This is the old-fashioned kind. So in this Pampered Chef large batter bowl, I have 4 cups of milk. And then, this is Pampered Chef measuring cup too. But anyway, I've got 1 cup of milk here. And we're going to put those 6 egg yolks right in there and beat them all together. Just with a fork. If you've got a little mini whisk, that'll work. Over here, we're going to add together, it's 3/4 cup of brown sugar, a 1/2 cup of corn starch, and then that's a whole cup of sugar. Okay? whole cup of sugar, 3/4 cup of brown sugar, and 1/2 cup of cornstarch. And we're going to mix those 3 items in this bowl right up here in just a second. But I wanted to get this going. Okay, I'm just going to sit that there. And we're going to take this 4 cups of milk in this large batter bowl because we need a large microwavable bowl. And we're going to put that in the microwave for 3 minutes and come back to it. In the other large bowl, I'm combining the cornstarch, the granulated sugar, and the brown sugar together. Then I'm going to add the egg and the milk mixture we had blended, and I'm going to just whisk that in to add all the ingredients together before we add the hot milk. You want to thoroughly blend this and get all the dry ingredients wet, and go ahead and whisk it together very well. Now I've taken the milk mixture that's been warmed up, and I'm going to whisk it in to the other ingredients, and it's all combined now in one bowl, and we're going to whip it and whisk it mighty hard to combine everything. And we also want to melt all those dry ingredients as best we can. You'll always have just a little bit of brown sugar residue, the best you can do, and you know, and that's fine. You just don't pour it all out if you've still got a little bit of brown sugar at the bottom. But once you've done that, we're going to add it back to the glass bowl because we're going to start microwaving everything. Just carefully pour it back in, and it's going to look like it's going to fill it back up, but just make sure you have at least 1.5 inches to 2 inches from the top. Make sure you're using a large enough glass bowl. I use this large batter bowl and it works fine for me. Now you're going to see in a minute you might have a little bit of the brown sugar residue, and I'm not going to pour it in. Just for some reason it won't all melt. I don't know. But it's fine. It's just brown sugar. Now we're going to whisk it again, and we're going to get it back in the microwave and start heating it back up in 2-minute increments. Now, when you take it out of the microwave the first few times, it's going to look mighty thin. You put it back in for 2 more minutes. Now, this is the second 2 minutes, and you can see it's still thin. I just whisk it each time, and we're going to stick it back in for another 2 minutes. I lost some footage, but it thickens up to where it's pudding consistency, and you blend in the stick of butter, and you blend in the tablespoon of vanilla, and you whisk the heck out of it, and it becomes the pudding. So now we're going to put it together. You take the NILLA wafers, and you want to put it in the bottom of the container, and that is a large half-steam table tray, and probably equivalent to like a lasagna pan. If you have one of those, it's at least maybe 11 by 15 or so. Makes a large banana pudding. It'll serve a lot of people. So you take some cookies, about half a box of cookies, because Paw Paw says he likes all the cookies and all the pudding and all the bananas. So I'm going to fill this thing chock full. So I just mix up the pudding and the cookies in the bottom, and then I'm going to slice 2.5 of those really large bananas, and we're going to layer that, and then we'll add some more. Just layer the bananas all throughout there and cover evenly. Alright, that wraps up the first level of bananas. You can't see nothing but bananas, and I'm going to add the rest of the pudding and just get it all out. Now we're going to smooth the pudding and make sure we cover all the bananas, and be careful now, that stuff is still hot. Now this time when we pour out the rest of the cookies, I want you to pull out 8 of the prettiest cookies and put them to the side. We're going to use those as a garnishment on top of the meringue in just a little bit. Now go ahead and blend the pudding in with those cookies and even all that out. We're going to cut up the rest of the bananas that we have left, 2.5 of those very large, yellow, beautiful, ripe bananas. And yeah, it's going to be good. Looking good. Okay, I have finished putting all the bananas, and then I'm going to use a spatula and mix them down in with the pudding. And we're going to get this thing ready to put some meringue on it. And here's what it looks like all smoothed out. Let's get her topped. Okay, over here in the mixer, in this mixing bowl, I've got 6 egg whites. I just added a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar to help stabilize the egg whites. We're going to throw this thing in high gear and whip up some egg whites. Here we are at the egg white. It is formed stiff peaks, and it's time to add some sugar after you reach the stiff peaks. Okay? I'm going to use 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar, slowly put in on low speed, and I just gradually add that in and work it through on each side. So that's 1 1/4 cups of sugar to 6 egg whites, and we're just going to work it through until it's all blended. Once all the sugar's added, throw it into high gear for about 1.5 to 2 minutes. And once it's all blended, and you can see how stiff it is, you can scrape down the sides a little bit, and then we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of a good vanilla. And once that vanilla's added, we're going to crank it back up and let her go for about another 30 seconds to a minute until it's well blended, and then it's time to put on the banana pudding. Almost got this thing done. And once you reach the right consistency, you can pull it up and it looks like pure marshmallow cream. Oh, it's so pretty and it tastes so good, but don't lick the beater yet. Get all of it off that you can, because you want as much of it on the banana pudding. But then you are welcome to lick the beater. Okay, let's top this banana pudding. Just pour it all on top of it, and we're going to empty out the bowl, and then we're going to spread it out to the edges. Okay, I've almost got it all the way around. I'm making sure I am carrying it to the edges of the container so it won't shrink. Anytime you're doing a meringue, you want to carry it to the edge of the container always, or when you start baking it, it'll shrink up. Now, if you want to, you can do a little dollop back and forth, a little design, whatever you want to. You can draw your name in it, whatever, before you put it in the oven. But we've got our oven preheated at 400 degrees, and then we're going to put this in there for 8 minutes at 400. Make sure you set the timer, because you don't want to burn it. She's looking mighty fine. Be careful when you're using aluminum pans like this. They're kind of flimsy. You want to put them on a rack and completely cool it, or you can serve it hot. Some people love hot banana pudding here right out of the oven, and other people want it to cool. So bake it accordingly. If you want it to completely cool, it's going to take a good, probably 2 or 3 hours to totally cool down. Now I'm going to take those reserve cookies and stick them in so they are decorative. I've got one on one side, and I'm going to add another on the other side. Just keep adding until you complete the pattern that you want to. I've just got 8 that's going to be set side by side, 4 rows of 2. And I think that makes for a pretty banana pudding. What do y'all think? Yep, looks kind of good. Okay, Morrow family, this one's for you, y'all. Love you. God bless you.